The auditorium was packed with eager students, their notebooks open and pens ready. Professor Erling Mortensen stood at the podium, his silver hair catching the light from the projector as he prepared to deliver what he promised would be the most fascinating lecture of the semester. His reputation as a brilliant archaeologist preceded him, and students from various departments had crowded into the hall to hear about his latest discovery. Today, Erling began, his voice commanding attention. I will share something that will challenge everything we thought we knew about ancient civilizations. Emily sat in the third row, her coffee growing cold beside her laptop. She had signed up for this archaeology elective on a whim, needing one more credit to complete her anthropology minor. As a physics major, she never expected to find much connection between quantum mechanics and ancient history. But Professor Mortensen's lectures had a way of bridging seemingly impossible gaps. The lights dimmed, and the first slide appeared on the screen. It showed ruins of a city, impossibly advanced for its supposed time period. The architecture featured geometric patterns that seemed to defy the mathematical knowledge attributed to that era. This civilization, Erling continued, existed approximately 12,000 years ago. We've named it the Chronos civilization for reasons that will soon become apparent. Emily leaned forward, intrigued. The ruins showed structures with metallic components that shouldn't have existed in prehistoric times. She scribbled notes rapidly, her scientific mind racing with questions. Erling clicked to the next slide. What makes this discovery extraordinary isn't just the advanced technology, but what we found in their central temple. The image showed a massive stone tablet covered in intricate symbols. Emily squinted at the screen, trying to make sense of the patterns. There was something oddly familiar about them, though she couldn't place what. These symbols, Erling explained, represent a form of mathematics we're only beginning to understand. They appear to describe principles of temporal physics, time travel, if you will. A murmur rippled through the audience. Emily's pen paused mid-word. Time travel? In a 12,000-year-old civilization? It seemed absurd, yet the evidence on the screen was compelling. Erling advanced to the next slide, and the room fell silent. The image showed a series of portraits carved into stone, each figure wearing distinctive ceremonial garments. The craftsmanship was extraordinary, capturing details that seemed almost photographic. These are believed to be the leaders or perhaps the founders of this civilization, Erling said. Notice the precision of the carvings. Our team used advanced imaging to create digital reconstructions of what these individuals might have looked like. He clicked again, and a digital rendering appeared on the screen. It showed a young woman with distinctive features, high cheekbones, intelligent eyes, and an expression that somehow conveyed both wisdom and youth. Emily's coffee cup slipped from her hand, clattering against the desk. Several students turned to look at her, but she barely noticed. Her eyes were fixed on the screen, her heart pounding in her chest. The face staring back at her from the projection was identical to her own. Not similar, not reminiscent. Identical. It was the same face she saw every morning in the mirror. The same face that appeared in her graduation photo from last spring, which currently sat on her desk at home. Even the small scar above her left eyebrow, the one she'd gotten falling off her bike at age 7, was there. Impossible, she whispered. But the word came out louder than she intended. Erling paused mid-sentence and looked in her direction, though the stage lights made it difficult for him to see into the audience clearly. Did someone have a question? Emily stood up slowly, her legs trembling. Around her, students craned their necks to see who had interrupted the lecture. She pointed at the screen with a shaking hand. "Why are you showing my graduation photo?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper but somehow carrying through the silent auditorium. The room erupted in confused chatter. Erling stepped away from the podium, shielding his eyes against the lights to get a better look at the speaker. "I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?" he asked. Emily descended the steps toward the front of the auditorium, her mind reeling. "That image on the screen," she said louder now, her voice gaining strength despite her shock. "That's me. That's my face." She reached the front and stood in the light. Erling's expression shifted from confusion to absolute astonishment. He looked from Emily to the screen and back again, his mouth opening and closing without sound. The resemblance was undeniable. It wasn't just similar, it was perfect. Every feature, every proportion, even the expression captured in the ancient carving matched the young woman standing before him. That's not possible, Erling stammered, something he never did. This carving is 12,000 years old. We've carbon dated the materials. The entire site has been verified by 3 independent laboratories. Emily pulled out her phone with trembling hands and navigated to her photo gallery. She held up her graduation photo from the previous May. The similarity to the ancient portrait was unmistakable. The auditorium had fallen completely silent. Even the usual shuffling of papers and whispered conversations had ceased. Everyone waited, watching this impossible moment unfold. Erling stepped closer, studying Emily's face and then the image on the screen. His scientific mind struggled to reconcile what his eyes were telling him. He'd spent 30 years in archaeology, had made a career of explaining the unexplainable. But this defied every logical explanation. "We need to talk," he finally said, his voice quiet but urgent. "After class. There's more to this discovery than I've shared publicly. Things I didn't understand until right now." Emily nodded, unable to form words. She looked up at the projection again, at her own face staring back at her. From across 12,000 years of history, somewhere in the back of her mind, she remembered something her quantum physics professor had said just last week. Time isn't linear. It's a dimension we can theoretically navigate, just like space. She had thought it was just theoretical. Apparently, 12,000 years ago, someone had proven it wasn't.